What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here. We just watched episode 11 of season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen. We'll be talking full spoilers, so hopefully you watch this episode, and we're going to do a real quick recap. This episode is pretty straightforward. Basically, Yuji, Megami, or Fushiguro, however you want to call him, and the other dude, I can't remember his name, but he's like Nanami's dude, are essentially looking for what is keeping the veil up. That's keeping... oh God, what's the name of the district area? I guess it doesn't matter, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Shibuya, thank you. Keeping that all sealed up, they look for pretty much the highest point where somebody would be able to watch and keep the veil up, and they are able to locate bug-eyed, Bronson-looking dude, an old hag, and her grandson, apparently, who are expecting them, but didn't expect them to show up as fast as they showed up. They attack with a wire, which was barely explained, but we got a little bit of a flashback on, like, this thing works, and they're like, okay, cool. And, yeah, they are pretty much quickly separated from each other. We got one side with the one dude, I forgot his name, that's taking on the old hag and her grandson, and then Yuji and Megami are down on the street with Bronson. I'm just gonna call him that because he looks like fucking a little miniature Bronson. And yeah, so these two different situations are happening. Guy on the rooftop is basically attacking the grandson, who doesn't seem to be attacking too much back, but is deflecting everything that he's doing in trying to protect the hag while she is essentially doing a seance. He catches on to this as he's using his drill move and his water ability, where he's like water skating and stuff, with great animation, I gotta add real quick, because this whole episode was like really detailed and animated very well. And yeah, he kind of catches on to that, and he's trying to figure out what's going on with that. She ends up completing her seance, hands something to her grandson, and he ends up eating it, and it changes his face. And then his face changes even more, and he becomes much more powerful. And then, yeah, down the street, Yuji and Megami are checking the guy on the ground who fell, and they end up getting into a big fight that I'm not going to go into every detail of, but they can't hurt the guy. And so they're trying to figure out why that is. And the whole time, the guy's just pretty much talking about how he's going to kill them. They're too talented, and they got bright futures ahead of them, so he wants to make sure that they don't get to that point in their lives, and he wants to kill them. We get a flashback of him back when he was younger with hair, and the old hag, kind of in the old days, where I guess cursed users lived a lot more freely than they have been. And this is around the time that Gojo is born, and they are sent early on in his life to go assassinate him. But upon coming close in contact with him, they realize he's already too powerful. He's the chosen one, basically. And he even knows it, because he kind of senses them and is like, you guys are fucking weak. So that was pretty interesting, getting even more Gojo than I thought we would get in this episode. We also got a flashback with the other guy, too, I forgot. But he essentially is hanging out with Nanami in his flashback, and basically trying to get his approval to be
ranked up.
Ranked up, thank you. So kind of gives us some insight on his background and motivations. Barely anything, but we got a little bit. So hopefully it won't take a whole season and another movie to get information on this guy, but might be that if they decide to do it that way. They end up finding out that the little buff guy is he's using something called, what was it, Inverse?
Inverse, yeah.
Basically, you do an attack too much towards him, and it weakens. So if it's a heavy attack, it starts weakening, and if it's a light attack, it starts doing more damage. Very video game-esque. And yeah, Megami figures that out, casts a fucking orb of rabbits around him, which was adorable. And while he was in there, he tells Yuji, they concoct a plan where they're going to go at him as hard as they can so he doesn't think that they're onto him, and then strike heavy and light at the same time, in hopes to, defeat him. They're able to pull that off, but it takes a hit from Yuji where he's swinging at full strength, but he pauses at the last moment, hits him with a weaker punch that eventually knocks this dude out. I don't think he died.
Well, there's no confirmation.
There was no confirmation, yeah. So he's just out right now. We'll find out. And then also up on the roof, the water skating dude is having trouble now with the dude he was just kind of hitting a lot while he was defending. And the guy looks kind of like Megami's dad or something. He's got a scar, but it's hard to tell because this guy's face has changed like 3 times now. So I'm not sure what's going on here. I'm sure we'll find out in the next episode. But he seems to be in trouble. But I also don't think we've seen his full abilities yet. But we'll see, I guess.
I have a theory on that guy, but we'll get there.
Yeah, well, we can talk about it. Is there anything else I missed in this episode? It's pretty straightforward. It's 2 different fights and some background on
the only thing I
position.
think you missed was the whole sequence where they're showing the past and they were supposed to kill Gojo. While he's finishing up that story and it phases back into present day during the fight, he emphasizes that the day Gojo was born, his freedom was taken from him. So he blames Gojo for his life not having any freedom.
Well, that's what I was talking about. They lived in a more free time. I did skip that once he showed up, that it changed everything for them. The balance changed. This whole show reminds me so much of like X-Men and Night Watch. It's so interesting because Night Watch is also about like 2 different factions and the balance of power being tipped different ways and stuff. So, and the chosen one shows up and shit. So it's really interesting. So outside of that, anything else?
I think that covers it. So.
Yeah. Pretty straightforward episode, but insightful, interesting. Not where I thought we were going. What'd you think?
I really liked this episode. It
was good.
It was one. It didn't bounce around a lot, which I really appreciate, but it also still took time to give us information. So I think they did a really good balance between like giving us some action and some storytelling, with some well-placed flashbacks. Really well done. The choice to do like some animation mixed with like a lot of just like impact frames, so they're just not like animating every single frame like crazy, I think was probably pretty smart too. Lots of pauses where you get like a moment where you see the action and that they can like buy a little time, not spend so much time animating. I think worked really well. So excuse me. I also kind of like first they actually explained the pins too with the veil, with like that they're basically like they're like little floppy disks basically. Sorry, Gen Z, but they're just like programmed with the veil, and so they just need cursed energy to activate, which is kind of cool concept. And then we kind of see that old lady is just like all just dumping cursed energy into things this whole episode, including when she's doing that seance thing. Let's see.
It was interesting to see when she was younger. She's still pretty old back then. That she essentially could shapeshift.
She could take on the form of the last person she killed or something like that.
Yeah, because she's like that guy's daughter, and then kills him.
And since here's my theory part. Since that person is supposedly her grandson, I think he has the same ability, but instead of needing to kill someone, I think he's just, as long as he has like their DNA basically, and I think he consumed just a little bit of like flesh or something like that, and I think it is maybe his dad. It's just a piece of his dad or something like that, and so he just had to be pumped full of cursed energy to be able to handle the transformation. And it's just temporarily that guy right now.
Sounds pretty solid to me.
Yeah. So
originally I thought you were saying it was him, and I was like, I don't think so.
No, I think he has taken the form.
Yeah,
of
that would make sense. Especially with how powerful that dude was.
Don't tell me though. We haven't read the manga, and I want to be surprised.
Yeah, please no spoilers.
That's where my brain's at.
We're going in blind here, so. But if you want to speculate with us that you don't know for sure, feel free.
Yeah, which would be pretty crazy. This episode that had a lot of like really creative things going on, because even like the inverse power was like such a like neat idea.
Yeah, remember I love a video game.
Yeah, well, and then like even the fact that that to use abilities, you have to like consciously use them. So like he can take a weak punch. He just needs to not use inverse in that moment, and that's why they were going at him with different levels and like using the frog for a light hit and stuff like that. Just
I like the scene where they hit him and it showed all their faces and then the frog before we knew what happened.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
yeah. Why is there a frog?
Why's the frog up to anything?
But I like how the frog was the weak punch. So really smart and fun for a fight scene.
Yeah, definitely.
And just enough explanation that it wasn't like okay, here's the guy pushing his glasses up and telling his entire technique thing. Like,
Good point.
it was just really good amount of time in explanation while also keeping the episode flowing. So
Yeah, all the context added was really brief, which I appreciate. We didn't sit, like when it did the flashback, I'm like, is the rest of this episode just gonna be this flashback? But like it was pretty brief. It just gave us the info of like things were better for them back in the day. Gojo showed up and now shit's fucked for them. So it adds motivation.
One also, it treats us, the viewer, as if we're intelligent and not stupid. You need to be, spoon-fed
Sure, which
every
I
little
mean,
thing,
I always appreciate that with anything.
Yeah, and other than that, I'm curious to see if my theory's right and if the senpai is dead or if he's just really messed up. I feel like the flashback was a death flag, but we'll see. But yeah, I liked it. It was fun.
Yeah, I like this episode too. I noticed right in the beginning that all the lining on the characters was a lot darker and more detailed looking, and the animation was really good from the beginning. I was like, oh, this is gonna be like a fight episode, and it was. Not the best I've ever seen, but they were fun. As you said, I agree with creative. The fight up top was cool to watch, especially seeing that one guy do his moves, because I don't know what he really has to offer. It's kind of interesting that he's using water and almost like to deflect hits on his body.
He almost got kicked in the back of the head and a bubble popped up and blocked the attack. Yeah.
But then he's also using it at his feet to like kind of use it as mobility.
Super cool, yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But almost like ice skating or something. It's really kind of interesting. And then the drills, which seem pretty straightforward. He just shoots a drill. This whole episode is a video game, because it seems like an ability you would get. I actually have what game was I playing recently where I had a gun that shot a drill?
I don't know. It makes me think of Mega Man. So
yeah, oh for sure. I literally played a game though recently where you shoot a drill, it hits them, and then it drills into their body when you hit them. I can't remember what it is. But anyway, it reminded me of that. So that was a cool fight. It was also interesting that the guy was buying time. It wasn't even a fight scene, really. It was this dude trying to hit him and realizing this guy's not trying to engage with him yet. He's just making sure that the seance can get complete. So I'll be really interested to see where that goes in the next episode. And then the little Bronson guy, I hate the way he looks. Just with this crazy bulging eyes, and he looks like he should be a big dude.
I hate it so much that I started to like it.
Yeah. Yeah, same. Also that he like fell off the building and like was pretending like he was hurt, and they just called his bluff, and he was just like, okay.
Yeah, and it's also interesting too because like I didn't understand like how they didn't really go through the explanation of like how he survived that, but now that we know he has that ability, the hard fall didn't matter.
It was a weak hit for him, yeah. Yeah, that's why there's like no damage to him. Yeah. It's really interesting. And yeah, the whole inverse thing was made the fight more interesting. It's still like a gimmick to his character. It's his power, but it made it so, because I was like, the dude just doesn't take damage. Like, they're going to have to use something to be able to let him take damage. It wasn't that simple. It was something else that I thought made everything more interesting. And the fight scenes were cool. They're fun. Mostly in like the strategy element of it. It's kind of cool to see what they're doing with every hit. We also got to see Megami fight, which he doesn't really anymore.
His redesign this season is really good. He looks so much better than they did in season
for
1.
Sure. Yeah, he looked weird. He looked busted ass in the first season.
Everyone else looks fine, but he's a huge improvement.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and yeah, him fighting using his curses and stuff was cool. I'm still not super in love with that he just summons things, but it could be cool in the right context. Obviously, this fight wasn't really a life or death scenario for them, but more so trying to figure out how to beat this dude.
Taking out mini bosses.
Yeah. While taking out trash mobs, because Yuji was just walking around. throughout this whole episode, just like grabbing people and punching them and
He just
kicking.
literally was carrying one before he decided to fucking get rid of it.
Like right in the beginning, there's like this chubby thing in the background. He just walks up and just kicks it. And
Yeah.
it just, like fell down, and I was like, "That's ridiculous." And then the small detail too of when Megami casted the rabbit sphere, he was just holding one because the whole episode he's just like just hanging out, staring at things and punching when he needs to.
I'm not gonna say too much because I want you to watch the show, but the rabbits gave me some PTSD from ReZero. If you know, you know. So
Yeah, I need to watch more of that. But yeah, it was definitely an entertaining episode. I don't think it pushed the ball forward too far when it comes to the story, but I don't really think it needs to just yet because it kind of gave us new characters and a little insight on their motivations, which I think is good. And because we didn't get a finite ending where we know anyone's been defeated, this will carry over to the next episode and I am just kind of looking forward to what we find out in the next episode, because this episode was just straight up entertaining, which is good. So yeah, I liked it. Anything else?
no, I think that's it. Like you said, it's a pretty straightforward episode. There's just a lot of like little small details from like, you know, watching an anime perspective, not so much from a story perspective. So
Yeah, I was actually surprised because I didn't get a spoiler, but a coworker was telling me that he really liked the episode, because I always ask without details, and he's really good about not telling me. But I'm like, "Oh, what'd you think of the episode?" Because he watched them right when they come out. And he's like, "Oh, it's good." And he's like, "It's got some flashbacks though. I wasn't expecting that." And I was like, "Oh," and that's about as far as we went with the conversation. But I was expecting an episode that's going to be a full flashback, and the way they did it, I thought was really interesting. How they kept it present, because we don't need a whole episode on flashbacks. We've done them and they've been great, but like I want to stay with the momentum of the story so far, and they did a really good job, like you were saying.
I think context flashbacks
of giving
are
us
a
these
good
little
tool
nuggets of context while keeping the momentum of what's happening going. They did a really good job with that. I didn't feel at all like we were sidetracked from anything. So, yeah, really good episode.
Yeah.
All right, and nothing else?
That's it.
Let us know in the comments what you guys think of this episode. What did you take from it? What were your favorite parts? Was there anything you didn't like? And where do you think things are going? Unless you know, please don't spoil anything for us, because it's been fun to watch this without any spoilers, and we would like to go forward without them even further. So if you like this show and you're really excited about it, let us get through it and find out on our own. But other than that, tell us what you thought of this episode. And yeah, stay tuned. We'll have another one coming out when the next episode comes out. And yeah, I've been Seth, this has been Chevy, and we'll talk to you on the next episode.